Dust swirled like ghosts in the dying light of Sundown Hollow. The frontier town, nestled between parched hills and endless scrub, had grown mean over the years. The war had taken the strong, and greed had hardened the rest. Folks here didn't offer help unless there was something in it for them. So when Clara Whitmore's father abandoned her after she took a fall from a spooked horse that paralyzed her from the waist down, not a single neighbor offered a hand. He left her in the old Whitmore homestead with only a water jug and stale bread, as though she were already dead. They whispered about her in town. She was too proud, always talking about her books and ideas, wasn't made for the West. No one dared say aloud what everyone suspected, that Judge Whitmore saw no use for a broken daughter who couldn't walk, let alone fetch a husband. 2 days passed, then 4. The sun scorched the land and the silence inside the cabin grew heavy. Clara could barely move, and her breath came shallow. Her lips were cracked, but her eyes still burned with fight. That was when he showed up. Chapter 2, The Cowboy with a Past. Colt Mercer wasn't the kind of man you ask questions. Tall, lean, with a rough beard and eyes the color of a storm, he had once ridden with a gang. Rumor said he killed a man in a card game gone wrong, but no one could prove it. He'd come to Sundown Hollow for a job fixing fences on the McCullen Ranch, but the pay was late and the work dirty. That evening, he was in the saloon drinking watered-down whiskey when a drunk muttered something about Judge Whitmore's crippled daughter starving in that cabin. Colt stiffened. He didn't know why it hit him so hard. Maybe it was a bitterness in the man's voice, or the way folks laughed like it was some tale to pass the time. Maybe it was because once, years ago, someone had left his little sister to die just the same. He hadn't made it in time back then. This time, he wasn't going to be late. Chapter 3, The Cabin in the Dust. Colt rode fast. The path to the Whitmore homestead was nearly invisible, swallowed by the weeds and creeping sand. The roof sagged like a tire back and the door creaked on rusted hinges. Inside, the air stank of rot and abandonment. But then he heard it, a horse cough. Clara lay on a straw mattress, her body gaunt, lips blistered, and eyes so hollow it struck him still. Yet when their eyes met, he felt something shift. "Don't pity me," she rasped, voice dry as bones. "I don't," Colt said, kneeling beside her and lifting the water jug to her lips. "I've got no use for pity either." He carried her out into the daylight, wrapped in an old quilt. His horse, Bandit, snorted but didn't protest. The sun flared as they rode toward town. He didn't care what the people whispered. He'd seen enough dying in his life to know when someone still had a spark left. And Clara Whitmore, paralyzed or not, was still on fire inside. Chapter 4, Scorn and Shelter. Colt didn't take Clara to the doctor's office in town. He knew better. Dr. Milton Bailey treated working men unless they paid double. Instead, he brought her to the barn behind the old livery stable where he slept. He cleaned her wounds, found a way to make a sling bed from hay bales and canvas, and kept her fed on stew and biscuits he scrounged from Miss Penny's boarding house. Every day, Clara's voice grew stronger. She started asking questions about Colt's life, about the town, about why people turned so bitter. He never told her the full truth, just pieces. About how he lost his sister, how he used to run with the wrong crowd, and how he was trying to make up for all of it now. "You ever miss the old you?" she asked one night, as coyotes howled in the distance. He thought for a long time before answering. "Sometimes. But I reckon I'd rather be the man who carried you out of that cabin than the one who used to carry a gun for fun." Clara didn't say anything, but her hand crept over and rested on his. Chapter 5, Trouble Comes Riding. Red dust kicked up on the horizon. Colt spotted the riders a mile out. 3 of them, guns slung low and eyes mean. It was Jeb Dawson and his boys. Colt knew the type. Hired hands with no master now, they rode town to town looking to stir up trouble. The McCullens had fired them weeks ago. Word was they blamed Colt for stealing their work. They cornered Colt behind the saloon that night. "Heard you're playing nursemaid to the judge's cripple," Jeb sneered. "That make you feel like a big man." Colt didn't answer. You should have let her rot. Some folks ain't meant to be saved. The punch came fast, but Colt was faster. Years on the run had honed his instincts. A scuffle broke out, and when the sheriff finally arrived, Jeb had a busted nose and Colt had a black eye. Sheriff McGraw glared at them both. You're lucky I don't jail the lot of you. Get back to whatever dust pit you came from. But as Colt walked away, he knew one thing for sure. He'd made enemies, and Clara wasn't safe anymore. Chapter 6. Love in the Shadows. The barn was dark, lit only by the flicker of lantern light. Clara sat propped up, her hair brushed and her eyes brighter than he'd ever seen. You're hurt, she said, seeing his bruised face. Not bad, he muttered. She touched his cheek gently, her fingers feather-light. Why do you keep helping me? Colt, what do you owe me? He looked into her eyes, deeper than any prairie sky. Nothing. But maybe I owe myself the chance to do something good. Maybe I want to be the man you believe I am. She didn't pull away, and in the quiet warmth of that night, the world outside faded. They talked of dreams they thought long dead, her wanting to teach, him wanting land to call his own. And when their lips met, it wasn't desperate. It was healing. Two broken souls holding each other together. Chapter 7. Redemption and Fire. At dawn, the barn burned. Jeb Dawson's gang had come in the night, torched it, and left Clara for dead again. Colt was out fetching water when he saw the smoke. He ran until his lungs tore. But Clara had already dragged herself across the hay with nothing but her arms and willpower, wrapped in a damp canvas to shield from the flames. He found her barely conscious, coughing, her hand blackened with ash. I told you, she croaked, I'm not ready to die. Tay's car passed through the soot on Colt's face. He carried her, cradle like gold, back into the town square, this time no hiding. This woman, he shouted to the townsfolk, deserves better than your silence. They stared, ashamed, some curious, a few moved. Miss Penny stepped forward. Bring her to my house, she said. I'll help. Others followed. A doctor, a baker. Even the sheriff muttered something about patrols. Redemption started not with a parade, but with one man's courage. And love lit the trail. Chapter 8. A New Beginning. 3 months passed. Clara sat in a wooden wheelchair Colt built himself. She had regained some feeling in her legs and could now stand for brief moments. The townspeople greeted her warmly, no longer with pity, but with respect.